Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your patience. Um, our the board met in closed executive session, and we ran a little late, so that's why we're starting at this time. But at that closed session, our meeting was called to order, so we can begin. And tonight we get to begin with our high school students who are representing us tonight. So we'll begin tonight with our representatives from High School North. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eddie. I'm the others High School North's Board of Education representative. I wasn't here at the last meeting, unfortunately, but I'm really happy to be here tonight. So I wanted to talk about some of our club updates. So our National Honor Society recently held our trunk or treat on October 22nd. It was a huge success. A lot of the parents and children stopped by, so it was very cute seeing everybody. And we are currently planning a Thanksgiving food drive for the Trenton Area Soup Kitchen, which will end on November 23rd. So yeah, we'll keep you posted on that. Our North Model United Nations recently competed in Princeton Model UN, and which took place from Thursday, November 11th through Sunday, November 14th. The boys volleyball team recently hosted a team volleyball fundraiser slash tournament that took place on November 11th. And also, our North Met Forum slash HOSA Club recently held tryouts for a HOSA team, and our team is regularly meeting to prepare for the upcoming regional and state tournaments, which will be taking place in January and March, respectively. HSN Jazz Band recently held tryouts last week. And lastly, I wanted to say a huge congratulations to the West Windsor-Plainsboro robotics team and their robot named Singularity because they won first place and placed as the event finalists in Sunday's tournament at North Brunswick. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Awesome. Thank you, Eddie. Now we'll hear from the representative from High School South.
Hi, I'm Ansh. I'm the representative from High School South. So, in the past month, Student Council has been holding some after school bake sales as a way of fundraising. Some other fundraisers that have been going on are the Junior Class Council just held a sweatpants fundraiser. Senior Class Council is planning a crew neck fundraiser soon, and the other class councils are also planning on doing something similar. All the merchandise that the class councils are selling are not class specific, so anyone from the school can buy anything sold. The Senior Class Council is helping spread the news that Disney is canceled, and right now they're planning on holding other events to make up for it. They're currently brainstorming ideas for this, so I'll keep you updated on that. Through Student Council, we're also trying to push an idea for a movie night in the school, and we're seeing how we would go about holding an event like this, still following guidelines. We're also currently planning our Winter Spirit Week, which will happen in the next month or so. So we're deciding the themes for each day right now, and since the last Spirit Week got a lot of participation from all the grades, we're thinking that there will be a similar amount of high participation this time around. And lastly, NHS is currently planning their second event of the year, which is a Care Baskets. Essentially, this is creating gift baskets for some places in WWP that serve the community, and each basket would contain one food item and one non-food item, like a card or flowers. And students in NHS are contributing to the baskets. They held their first event, NHS held their first event right after the last meeting, the last Board of Ed meeting. The event was a cakewalk where students in NHS brought in cakes and other goods. Then during lunch, any students could sign up to play a game among 9 people for the chance to win a good that was brought in. And yeah, that's pretty much everything that South's been up to in the past month. So thank you.
Thank you, Anj. I just want to say that you can't tell, but every one of the people sitting at these tables smiles when you give your report. So thank you so much for giving us the scoop at what's going on at your schools. We appreciate it. We'll still smile when Dr. Nathan gives her presentation. So it's that time of year when the board gets to learn about all the changes to the high school program of studies. So for that presentation, I'm going to turn it over to the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Pamela Nathan.
Good evening. I have the pleasure and responsibility of sharing our high school program of study, additions and revisions with you tonight. The program of study, ideas, course creation, and revisions are the combined work of many teams, including the supervisors of instruction, teachers, guidance counselors, administrators, administrative assistants, and students. I thank everyone for their expertise, time, and attention to the courses we offer our students. I'm proud of the work and value our ability as a district to learn, grow, unlearn, and continue to offer our students a range of opportunities and experiences while in WWP. As tonight can also be a learning experience for the board and the community, I'll begin with a clip.
So I'd like to talk about the development of human potential, and I'd like to start with maybe the most impactful modern story of development. Many of you here have probably heard of the 10,000 hours rule. Maybe you even model your own life after it. Basically, it's the idea that to become great in anything takes 10,000 hours of focused practice, so you'd better get started as early as possible. The poster child for this story is Tiger Woods. His father famously gave him a putter when he was 7 months old. At 10 months, he started imitating his father's swing. At 2, you can go on YouTube and see him on national television. Fast forward to the age of 21, he's the greatest golfer in the world. It's quintessential 10,000 hours story. Another that features in a number of best-selling books is that of the 3 Polgar sisters, whose father decided to teach them chess in a very technical manner from a very early age, and really he wanted to show that with a head start and focused practice, any child could become a genius in anything. And in fact, 2 of his daughters went on to become grandmaster chess players. So, when I became the science writer at Sports Illustrated magazine, I got curious. If this 10,000 hours rule is correct, then we should see that elite athletes get a head start in so-called deliberate practice. This is coached, error correction-focused practice, not just playing around. And in fact, when scientists study elite athletes, they see that they spend more time in deliberate practice, not a big surprise. But when they actually track athletes over the course of their development, the pattern looks like this. The future elites actually spend less time early on in deliberate practice in their eventual sport. They tend to have what scientists call a sampling period, where they try a variety of physical activities, they gain broad general skills, they learn about their interests and abilities, and delay specializing until later than peers who plateau at lower levels. And so when I saw that, I said, gosh, that doesn't really comport with the 10,000 hours rule, does it? So I started to wonder about other domains that we associate with obligatory early specialization, like music. Turns out the pattern's often similar. This is research from a world-class music academy, and what I want to draw your attention to is this. The exceptional musicians didn't start spending more time in deliberate practice than the average musicians until their 3rd instrument. They too tended to have a sampling period. Even musicians we think of as famously precocious, like Yo-Yo Ma, he had a sampling period. He just went through it more rapidly than most musicians do. Nonetheless, this research is almost entirely ignored, and much more impactful is the first page of the book Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother, where the author recounts assigning her daughter violin. Nobody seems to remember the part later in the book where her daughter turns to her and says, "You picked it, not me," and largely quits. So having seen this sort of surprising pattern in sports and music, I started to wonder about domains that affect even more people, like education. An economist found a natural experiment in the higher ed systems of England and Scotland. In the period he studied, the systems were very similar, except in England, students had to specialize in their mid-teen years to pick a specific course of study to apply to, whereas in Scotland, they could keep trying things in university if they wanted to. And his question was, who wins the trade-off, the early or the late specializers? And what he saw was that the early specializers jump out to an income lead because they have more domain-specific skills. The late specializers get to try more different things, and when they do pick, they have better fit, or what economists call match quality. And so their growth rates are faster. By 6 years out, they erase that income gap. Meanwhile, the early specializers start quitting their career tracks in much higher numbers, essentially because they were made to choose so early that they more often made poor choices. So the late specializers lose in the short term and win in the long run. I think if we thought about career choice like dating, we might not pressure people to settle down quite so quickly. So this got me interested, seeing this pattern again, in exploring the developmental backgrounds of people whose work I had long admired. Like Duke Ellington, who shunned music lessons as a kid to focus on baseball and painting and drawing. Or Maryam Mirzakhani, who wasn't interested in math as a girl, dreamed of becoming a novelist, and went on to become the first and so far only woman to win the Fields Medal, the most prestigious prize in the world in math. Vincent van Gogh had 5 different careers, each of which he deemed his true calling, before flaming out spectacularly, and in his late 20s picked up a book called The Guide to the ABCs of Drawing. That worked out okay. Claude Shannon was an electrical engineer at the University of Michigan who took a philosophy course just to fulfill a requirement. And in it, he learned about a near-century-old system of logic by which true and false statements could be coded as ones and zeros and solved like math problems. This led to the development of binary code, which underlies all of our digital computers today. Finally, my own sort of role model, Frances Hesselbein. This is me with her. She took her first professional job at the age of 54 and went on to become the CEO of the Girl Scouts, which she saved. She tripled minority membership, added 130,000 volunteers, and this is one of the proficiency badges that came out of her tenure. It's binary code for girls learning about computers. Today, Frances runs a leadership institute where she works every weekday in Manhattan, and she's only 104, so who knows what's next.
Thematic and stylistic concerns. Students will gain a more advanced knowledge of digital manipulation options and explore a higher level of experimentation. Success in this course would be a solid basis of an AP design portfolio. And finally, for our new courses, Emerging Financial Markets. Students will learn the principles of digital finance, how cryptocurrencies are designed, built, and valued, blockchain technologies, investment strategies in emerging markets, as well as digital financial security. This course will address the changing landscape of finance, why investments make money, and why investment strategies work, how investments are structured and balanced for different objectives as well. Areas of study in this course include financial technology, automated investing, sustainable investing, and this course can fulfill the financial literacy graduation requirement as well. So in addition to new courses, we make revisions to the program of study each year. This year, revisions included work on pre-calculus, H&A, and honors in order to merge them to honors. This necessitates a change to the AP Calculus DC eligibility criteria to include pre-calculus honors and H&A. Pre-calculus honors, sorry. H&A now culminates with our geometry course. Why we combined these classes? They have similar curriculum. They utilize the same textbook. The most recent addition is with our honors courses, which also includes digital access. We do not need to separate grade levels as we had in the past. Classes combine 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students already. We utilize a workshop model, which allows for differentiation and personalization. And this is a prong of our diversity, equity, and inclusivity work. Pre-calculus honors students can take AP Calculus DC, and colleges have not recognized H&A. It truly is accelerated based on the age and grade at which you take the course. In addition to merging H&A and honors, we have changed the deadline of option 2. We've moved it up a month to ensure that we can properly schedule all of our students. And finally, edits and name changes have occurred within the program of study. School and Work program was formerly the Special Needs Supported Employment class. TRAC, which stands for Transition to Adulthood, Community, and Careers, replaces what was formerly known as WARPS. And staff changes, new administrators and positions, as listed in the program of studies, were also updated.
Binary code for girls learning about computers. Today, Frances runs a leadership institute where she works every weekday in Manhattan, and she's only 104, so who knows what's next. We never really hear developmental stories like this, do we? We don't hear about the research that found that Nobel laureate scientists are 22 times more likely to have a hobby outside of work as our typical scientists. We never hear that. Even when the performers or the work is very famous, we don't hear these developmental stories. For example, here's an athlete I've followed. Here he is at age 6 wearing a Scottish rugby kit. Now, he tried some tennis, some skiing, wrestling. His mother was actually a tennis coach, but she declined to coach him because he wouldn't return balls normally. He did some basketball, table tennis, swimming. When his coaches wanted to move him up a level to play with older boys, he declined because he just wanted to talk about pro wrestling after practice with his friends. And he kept trying more sports: handball, volleyball, soccer, badminton, skateboarding. So, who is this dabbler? This is Roger Federer. Every bit as famous as an adult as Tiger Woods, and yet even tennis enthusiasts don't usually know anything about his developmental story. Why is that? Even though it's the norm. Well, I think it's partly because the Tiger story is very dramatic, but also because it seems like this tidy narrative that we can extrapolate to anything that we want to be good at in our own lives. But that, I think, is a problem, because it turns out that in many ways, golf is a uniquely horrible model of almost everything that humans want to learn. Golf is the epitome of what the psychologist Robin Hogarth called a kind learning environment. Kind learning environments have next steps and goals that are clear, rules that are clear and never change. When you do something, you get feedback that is quick and accurate. Work next year will look like work last year. Chess, also a kind learning environment. The grandmaster's advantage is largely based on knowledge of recurring patterns, which is also why it's so easy to automate. On the other end of the spectrum are wicked learning environments, where next steps and goals may not be clear. Rules may change. You may or may not get feedback when you do something. It may be delayed, it may be inaccurate, and work next year may not look like work last year. So which one of these sounds like the world we're increasingly living in? In fact, our need to think in an adaptable manner and to keep track of interconnecting parts has fundamentally changed our perception, so that when you look at this diagram, the central circle on the right probably looks larger to you because your brain is drawn to the relationship of the parts in the whole, whereas someone who hasn't been exposed to modern work with its requirement for adaptable and conceptual thought will see correctly that the central circles are the same size. So here we are in the wicked work world, and there sometimes hyper-specialization can backfire badly. For example, in research in a dozen countries that matched people for their parents' years of education, their test scores, their own years of education, the difference was some got career-focused education and some got broader general education. The pattern was those who got the career-focused education are more likely to be hired right out of training, more likely to make more money right away, but so much less adaptable in a changing work world that they spend so much less time in the workforce overall that they win in the short term and lose in the long run. Or consider a famous 20-year study of experts making geopolitical and economic predictions. The worst forecasters were the most specialized experts, those who'd spent their entire careers studying one or two problems and came to see the whole world through one lens or mental model. Some of them actually got worse as they accumulated experience and credentials. The best forecasters were simply bright people with wide-ranging interests. Now, in some domains, like medicine, increasing specialization has been both inevitable and beneficial, no question about it, and yet it's been a double-edged sword. A few years ago, one of the most popular surgeries in the world for knee pain was tested in a placebo-controlled trial. Some of the patients got sham surgery. That means the surgeons make an incision, they bang around like they're doing something, then they sew the patient back up. That performed just as well. And yet surgeons who specialize in the procedure continue to do it by the millions. So if hyper-specialization isn't always the trick in a wicked world, what is? Well, that can be difficult to talk about because it doesn't always look like this path. Sometimes it looks like meandering or zigzagging or keeping a broader view. It can look like getting behind. But I want to talk about what some of those tricks might be. If we look at research on technological innovation, it shows that increasingly the most impactful patents are not authored by individuals who drill deeper into one area of technology, as classified by the US Patent Office, but rather by teams that include individuals who have worked across a large number of different technology classes and often merge things from different domains. Someone whose work I've admired, who was sort of on the forefront of this, is a Japanese man named Gunpei Yokoi. Yokoi didn't score well in his electronics exams at school, so he had to settle for a low-tier job as a machine maintenance worker at a playing card company in Kyoto. He realized he wasn't equipped to work on the cutting edge, but that there was so much information easily available that maybe he could combine things that were already well known in ways that specialists were too narrow to see. So he combined some well-known technology from the calculator industry with some well-known technology from the credit card industry and made handheld games. And they were a hit. And it turned this playing card company, which was founded in a wooden storefront in the 19th century, into a toy and game operation. You may have heard of it. It's called Nintendo. Yokoi's creative philosophy translated to lateral thinking with withered technology, taking well-known technology and using it in new ways. And his magnum opus was this, the Game Boy. Technological joke in every way. And it came out at the same time as color competitors from Sega and Atari, and it blew them away. Because Yokoi knew what his customers cared about wasn't color, it was durability, portability, affordability, battery life, game selection. This is mine that I found in my parents' basement. Seen better days. But you can see the red light is on. I flipped it on and played some Tetris, which I thought was especially impressive because the batteries had expired in 2007 and 2013. So this breadth advantage holds in more subjective realms as well. In a fascinating study of what leads some comic book creators to be more likely to make blockbuster comics, a pair of researchers found that it was neither the number of years of experience in the field, nor the resources of the publisher, nor the number of previous comics made. It was the number of different genres that a creator had worked across. And interestingly, a broad individual could not be entirely replaced by a team of specialists. We probably don't make as many of those people as we could because early on they just look like they're behind, and we don't tend to incentivize anything that doesn't look like a head start or specialization. In fact, I think in the well-meaning drive for a head start, we often even counterproductively short-circuit even the way we learn new material at a fundamental level. In a study last year, 7th grade math classrooms in the US were randomly assigned to different types of learning. Some got what's called blocked practice. That's like you get problem type A, B, 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 and so on. Progress is fast, kids are happy, everything's great. Other classrooms got assigned to what's called interleaved practice. That's like if you took all the problem types and threw them in a hat and drew them out at random. Progress is slower, kids are more frustrated, but instead of learning how to execute procedures, they're learning how to match a strategy to a type of problem. And when the test comes around, the interleaved group blew the block practice group away. Wasn't even close. Now, I found a lot of this research deeply counterintuitive. The idea that a head start, whether in picking a career or a course of study or just in learning new material, can sometimes undermine long-term development. And naturally, I think there are as many ways to succeed as there are people, but I think we tend only to incentivize and encourage the tiger path, when increasingly in a wicked world, we need people who travel the Roger path as well. Or as the eminent physicist and mathematician and wonderful writer, Freeman Dyson, put it, and Dyson passed away yesterday, so I hope I'm doing his words honor here. As he said, for a healthy ecosystem, we need both birds and frogs. Frogs are down in the mud seeing all the granular details. The birds are soaring up above, not seeing those details, but integrating the knowledge of the frogs, and we need both. The problem, Dyson said, is that we're telling everyone to become frogs. And I think, in a wicked world, that's increasingly short-sighted. Thank you very much.
So preparing our students for wicked learning environments where flexibility, wide range of skills, and ability to cross-pollinate ideas is essential. Certainly life has demonstrated that there is unpredictability, and it is our goal to prepare our students to be critical and flexible thinkers and problem solvers. Our range of courses provides those opportunities and is always a work in progress as we update and change as the world changes. Thank you for your time and attention tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Nathan. Does anybody on the board have any questions for Dr. Nathan?
To clarify for the dance what's in the department, and when it starts next year, the course that will be dance one. Are there any other courses, or just starting with that?
We're going to start with dance one.
Anyone else? Thank you, Dr. Nathan. The board will digest that presentation, and the program of studies will be on the agenda for board approval in December. Brings us to the first opportunity for public comment. The board invites thoughts and reactions on agenda items and items of concern from members of our community who are present. Each participant is asked to give his or her name and address prior to making a statement, which will be limited to 3 minutes in accordance with Board Policy 0167. All statements shall be made to the presiding officer. This public comment period shall be limited to 60 minutes. Would anybody like to make a comment tonight? Well, it appears that no one would like to make a comment tonight, so we will close the first opportunity for public comment and move ahead with our committee reports. Tonight we will begin with the report coming out of the Administration and Facilities Committee, and for that I will turn it over to Tony Flores.
Thank you. The committee met on November 9th. We began with a discussion with members of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusivity Core Team. They presented an overview and update on the district's strategic plan for equity. I'm sorry, I have a hard time speaking clearly. The presentation It included the impetus for the work, the committee structures, goals, and the next steps for implementation. And if they're listening, I want to thank them for their presentation. Then we discussed policies and regulations that are on our agenda tonight. There are 2 items for the first reading, the policy and regulation for sexual harassment of students. And we also reviewed the comments received for the policies on the second reading, and they're all on the agenda tonight for your approval. Then we discussed the 2023-2024 academic calendar. An updated version of the calendar was presented to us, and there was additional school community feedback additional community stakeholder feedback will be secured before the final Board of Ed approval. On the agenda tonight is also the Safety and Security Plan Statement of Assurance. This is to comply with state law that all school districts have to have such a plan with procedures, plans, and mechanisms reviewed and updated annually. The plans were shared with the committee previously and then again in November, and the district statement of assurance is on the agenda for tonight for our approval. We discussed athletics. Both the high school South boys soccer and girls volleyball teams appeared in the Group 4 sectional semifinals. The United football team closed out the season with a 50-14 victory over Newark East Side. Heading into the winter sports season, the district continues to implement appropriate health and safety protocols for all athletic teams while working with Colonial Valley Conference members to ensure similar measures are in place for our competitions. Winter sports began on November 8th for swimming, diving, and ice hockey, and will begin on November 22nd. November 22nd marks the start of basketball, track, fencing, and wrestling. Then we review some of the referendum updates. HVAC upgrades at High School North and Community Middle School are entering the final phases. The foundation for the dance studio at High School North has been set. At High School South, the Playhouse Auditorium is nearly complete, with plumbing and HVAC work underway in the new wing. Construction of the new media center at Community Middle School is in its final stages, and planning and permitting for the Wyckoff addition and renovation is underway. Finally, on our agenda tonight, there are a number of job descriptions. These have all been updated to meet with current regulations, and we recommend their approval by the board. Next meeting is scheduled for December 7th. Are there any questions?
All right. Next, we will hear what happened in the curriculum committee, and for that, I'll turn it over to Dana Krug.
Hello, good evening. The curriculum committee met on Tuesday, November 9th. First, we discussed the 2022-23 high school program of studies. Dr. Nathan shared a presentation with the additions and revisions to the high school program of studies with the committee. The presentation will be presented to the full board at the next board meeting on November 16th, which is tonight, we just heard it. And as Michelle just said, the board will vote on these changes at the December 14th board meeting. Next, we reviewed the New Jersey Smart School Performance Reports. Dr. Nathan shared that each year the school district has the opportunity to update the narrative sections that appear on the state school performance website for each school. The report was reviewed, updated, and submitted last week. The committee also recommends approval of the disposal of many obsolete instructional items in accordance with Regulation 7300.1, 504 books from Wyckoff Elementary School Media Center, because they are either so out of date as to no longer serve as worthy instructional tools, or are so worn and or damaged to preclude effective use and economical repair or restoration. The committee recommends approval for the professional development consultant Riverside Insights to provide beyond year one data manager training for the 21-22 school year for district staff at a cost not to exceed $500. We will meet next on Tuesday, December 7th.
Are there any questions about the curriculum committee's report? Okay, last but not least, I'll turn it over to Louisa Hope for the information coming out of the Finance Committee.
Great. The Finance Committee met on November 9th. First, the committee reviewed the monthly financial reports. Then the committee reviewed agenda items for tonight's meeting. On the agenda for approval are several change orders for referendum projects. The change orders include steel beam substitution for Wyckoff due to materials that are unavailable for purchase, additional crane rental costs and dunnage racks for Millstone, HVAC units, standalone HVAC units and dehumidifiers for Millstone, additional cold water plumbing installation at North, prep work at South for PSE and G piping and meters, and additional theater lighting at Community. The agenda also includes the motions to approve the use of cooperative pricing and state contract pricing for technology infrastructure purchases and fire suppression devices, a list of obsolete equipment for disposal, and some changes, cancellations, and additions to transportation routes. The state has renamed the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, formerly called the CAPR, to now be called the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, the ACFR. The due date has been moved to January 31st, 2022. However, the audit summary is still due January 4th. The auditor will meet with the committee on December 7th and present to the full board at the December 14th meeting. So now is the ever popular construction update. At Grover Middle School and Village, new bleachers were supposed to be installed during Teachers Convention weekend. However, the vendor did not secure the proper permits to start the installation. The old bleachers were removed in expectation of installation. The work will now have to occur after hours. Staff updated the committee on referendum projects. Fire alarm installations at Community and South continue on second shift. HVAC punch list items, balancing, and owner training are being addressed at North and Millstone. At Millstone, installation has begun on the new unit ventilator motors. The contractor and district staff are still trying to remedy the lack of water flow in one wing. In the Grover Security Office, a new small split HVAC system will be installed. In South, casework installation has begun in Block B. Plumbing fixtures are being installed along with ceiling, grid, and light fixtures. Work continues on the gas service upgrade to support the new construction. At Community, the front driveway and road paving is complete. The contractor is continuing work in Block D and the auditorium and is completing punch list items in the occupied areas of the addition. The new media center construction is complete and shelving is being installed. At North, structural steel work, plumbing, and electric has started. Pre-construction meetings continue for the work at Whitehouse. Under the Energy Savings Improvement Program, Snyder staff continue to work with district staff to try to regulate the temperature in a handful of classrooms where the temperature fluctuates from the expected set point. They will begin work on Village Energy Return Ventilation Unit very soon. Work continues on the 22-23 budget. There have been meetings with Brown and Brown Health Benefit Advisors. Staff briefed the committee on facility staffing needs regarding the skilled trades and building maintenance, and an updated budget calendar was provided. In operations, for the cafeterias, lunch counts continue to rise. On the last Friday in October, 6,125 lunches were served. During the month, 103,907 total lunches were served. The daily counts are twice what they have been historically. Dr. Adderhall gave the committee an update on other school operations. The district has been able to support an increase in student mental health cases due to preparations already in place. Since September, 60 new special ed students have enrolled in the district. Other areas of concern this year include difficulty finding instructional assistants and substitutes, managing COVID-related issues, and procedures which the administration is working on for the safety of winter sports spectators. In other business, the district participated in an energy demand response program for electric service through C-Power through the Educational Services Cooperative of New Jersey. The utility provider will pay the district for a reduction in electricity needed during certain times of the year. The district, through the ESIP's lighting, controls, and solar program, outperformed its estimated savings by 14%. The estimated refund for the next year from this program will be $59,000 for the district's reduced reliance on the electricity grid. The committee will next meet on December 7th.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about the Finance Committee report? Okay, we can move on to the consent agenda. That's the voting portion of our agenda. We begin with administration. Could I please get a motion on administration items 1 through 9 plus our pink addendum? Robin and Tony, are there any questions or comments on the administration items?
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Next is Ms. Hill.
Yes.
Ms. Crew.
Yes.
Ms. McEwen.
Yes.
Ms. Maliga.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Ms. Dovich.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
Ms. Case.
Yes. Could I please get a motion on curriculum and instruction items 1 and 2? Braylon and Dana, are there any questions or comments on the curriculum and instruction items?
We'll start with Ms. Hill.
Yes.
Ms. Crew.
Yes.
Ms. McEwen.
Yes.
Ms. Maliga.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Ms. Dovich.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
Ms. Case.
Yes. Could I please get a motion on finance items 1 through 21? Lloyd and Louisa, are there any questions or comments on the finance item?
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Crew.
Yes.
Ms. McEwen.
Yes.
Ms. Maliga.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Ms. Dovich.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Hill.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
And Ms. Case.
Yes. Could I please get a motion on personnel items 1 through 3, plus our yellow and green addendum? Martin and Rachel. Any questions or comments on the personnel items?
Okay, we'll start with Ms. McEwen.
Yes.
Ms. Maliga.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Ms. Dovich.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Hill.
Yes.
Ms. Crew.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
Ms. Case.
Yes. And please get a motion to approve the board minutes from our 2 meetings in October. Tony and Roy. Are there any questions or comments on the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do we have any board liaison reports? How about new business? That brings us to the second opportunity for public comment. The board invites thoughts and reactions from members of our community who are present. Each participant is asked to give his or her name and address prior to making a statement, which will be limited to 3 minutes in accordance with Board Policy 0167. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. This public comment period shall be limited to 15 minutes. Do you have any comments tonight?
My name is Debbie Bear. I'll use my teacher voice. My name is Debbie Bear, and I'm one of the reading recovery teachers at Town Center, but I'm also a member of the executive board of the WWPEA, and I just wanted to let you know that this year we work with Lee with a grant from NJEA that we applied for as an association, and the district partners with us, and even though we haven't been able to be in person, we've had some really great workshops with parents in the evening, and our most recent one, we had pizza, where families came and picked up their pizza, and then we joined on Zoom, and we talked about different ways to support kids in these difficult times where things are a little upside down, and it's one of the great aspects of working in this district. I'm fortunate enough to have gone through the school, kindergarten through 12th grade. Now I've been a teacher here for 30 years, and NJEA provides us with this opportunity. And about 10 years ago, Dave and I talked about it, and I said, I think I can get some money. And he said, yeah, what should we do about that? And he was the assistant superintendent at the time, and the program's been going on now. And last year was so tricky, and we weren't sure people would come back. Parents would think it was valuable. And in partnership with Lee and some of our guidance counselors, we've been able to really create a nice program. It's probably something you generally don't know about, so I thought I'd share it with you and sort of reinforce what makes our district great, is that working relationship that we have, where we make much more when we work together than it would be two separate parts. So just a little about it.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else tonight? All right. That will close our second opportunity for public comment, and I need a motion to adjourn. Dana and Robin, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Right, we'll see you next time. Thank you.